Dímelo, familia.
Awesome, Tostones. Thank you for joining everyone today. What we're gonna do with DJ Tostones, who is from or currently based in Los Angeles, but right now he's in Texas. We're gonna go over a few tips that we want to give Latin creators and just music creators in general. For a few of the viewers that may not know you, can you go ahead and give us a brief? Who is Tostones? How did you come up with that amazing name? You know, some people call it Tostones Patacones. They might be still confused. So can you give us a little bit more on that?
Yeah, so thank you again, Marvin and SunTrust for having me. It's an honor for the platform and for me to be able to showcase my talent and all my things. So yeah, I'm originally from Puerto Rico. I am an Afro Latino and Afro Caribbean. I call myself an Afro Caribbean ambassador. So anything that has to do with the Afro Caribbean, that's my life. So that's what I was born to. That's my purpose, and that's what I want to always highlight with my music and all my art, everything that I do in my art. So tostones, uh, so tostones. For those of you who don't know, tostones is a dish. It's like a side dish made of
Mhm.
plantain. You take the green plantain and you cut it in pieces in like chunks. You fry it, not deep fry it. You fry it like in low heat, and then you plastered it like you smash it, and it turns into
Right.
flat plantain, and then you deep fry that, and it's basically like what you the plantain chips. If you know,
Yeah.
most people know the plantain chips, but it's just a different process. So yeah, that's my favorite food. Uh,
Awesome.
Puerto Rico, we love plantain. DR, they also call them tostones. Um, I believe
And
in
these are the green plantains, right? Just for the people that don't know
green.
that. You got the sweet and you got the starchy green. So you gotta, we don't want people to make with ripe plantain.
Do that, but the real thing is the green one with the
Right.
savory, the garlic. You put the garlic mojo on it, or you put the mayo ketchup. Yeah, so that's
Awesome.
my favorite food. And I'm always creating. As you can see, I wear the Vietnamese hat. I represent,
Awesome.
and the reason I wear the Vietnamese hat is because I represent the working class. I represent the working class, and this hat is they call it rice hats because the
Hmm.
farmers from Southeast Asia they made this hat so they can work the field under the sun and the rain.
Right.
So I wear it because I represent the working class, and also Puerto Rico and Vietnam. We have a not so beautiful tie to Vietnam, and I wanted to reclaim it as
Mm.
Puerto Ricans were in the Vietnam War. Puerto
Hmm.
Ricans were some of the highest numbers of the people that served in the U.S. Army against the Vietnam
Wow.
people, and
Hmm.
that was horrible because not we didn't have anything against them. It's just something that they drafted us and they made us go over there and do something that we didn't even want to do in the first place.
Right.
Uh, but then I see there's a tie there where I could represent the working class. I could also represent the people that we had differences, but you know what I'm saying, it wasn't our fault. It was the colonization that.
Right. Right.
So that's one of the reasons I wear the hat, and that's what I wear. I started wearing the hat as soon as I named myself Tostones,
Hmm.
because I'm originally a musician, a recording artist and songwriter, but when I started DJing, I always wanted to do. I wanted to have like I was inspired by like the Dead Mouse and
Yeah.
Mellow and all these DJs that have dengue dengue dengue, like all these DJs. They have something that is part of their art. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Visual and
They have
people.
the branding.
So that's why, and I'm also a huge fan of Asian culture, like anime and
Hmm.
um, martial arts. Wu Tang Clan. It's all part.
Awesome.
So, and it's crazy because my actual real name is actually Asian. My name is John Lee. Like,
Oh, wow.
it's actually an Asian name. It's a whole nother story about my dad loving martial arts movies. So it ended up trickling down to me.
Right.
And then I just named myself Tostones as it was like a catchy name. And then I added the S so that in English, if you speak English, you say toss tones. right?
Gotcha.
And that's what I do. When I play my percussion, I toss tones. When I sing,
Oh.
when I press buttons in the DJ, I'm dropping songs, I toss tones. So, you know, when I speak, I toss tones. So that's, you know, that's the wordplay that I came up with. And that's the new project that I've been doing for the last, it's been like 3, 4 years now. So yeah, TossTones, also known as Aponte, which is my last name. That's how I
Mhm.
started releasing music first. Aponte. A lot of people know me as Aponte, but then I
Mhm.
do this new thing. I just like to be creative in out the box ways. You know, I like to be creative in things that I've never seen before, or ways that I've never seen. You know, I like to trace my own path. And you know, we're in 2022. We're talking about the life is just completely different now, and we're talking about technology and NFTs and all this stuff that is moving to the Web3 and all these things are moving
Yeah.
to the future. So that's why I wanted to do something that was moving to the future. Eventually, I want to do more like animation and everything that.
Mhm.
I don't want to talk too much about that because that's the future thing. But yeah,
Gotcha. Gotcha. So let's talk about your music past. How did you get into music? How did you get into the music industry? Who were the people that inspired you to where you are at now? Because I'm pretty sure that there were people that you saw before and said, you know what, I want to be like them, or I can do something like this. Can you tell us a little bit more?
definitely. In my case, it's like I was born into it. Like it's my purpose. Like I could not escape it. My grandfather, he used to play bass, upright bass. He actually used to play. He was part of the first band. I don't know if a lot of you might not know. Is this like old school salsa? If you
Hmm.
know about Tommy Olivencia, is one of the biggest salsa bands. You probably heard the songs and don't know about them, but like check them out. It's amazing music. So Tommy Olivencia, um, originally I'm from Villa Palmeras, Santurce, Puerto Rico, right? And that's where Maelo's from, Ismael Rivera, like Cortijo, like all the. I come from that lineage of like Villa Palmeras, salsero, sonero,
Hmm.
rumbero, plena, and bomba. I come from all of that. So my grandparents, that's where I grew up because they had the house there, and Tommy Livencia lived down the block. And actually down the other block on El Gran Combo, Pellín Rodriguez, which was one of the first three singers, he lived off the block. Like this is all the what was brewing before I was even born. So
Hmm.
my grandpa was the first bass player of that band, Tommy Olivencia, before they even recorded. And he was always into music. All my family, his brothers and sisters, they all play either guitar, bass, and it's all like not academically trained. It's just like they just
From the
pick
soul.
up and the parrandas. They be, hey, let's get the they pick up like a 5 gallon of water thing and just start bumping it like it's a drum. Like we come from that musical background, so that's my first inspiration before I was even born. And then my father, his son, that was my grandfather was Chevolin, and my father, he's also a renowned professional dancer and choreographer. So I come from this upbringing. So when I was born, my dad was already dancing professionally. I also, on my mother's side, from Carolina, because I'm from both San Juan and Carolina, half of my family. Actually, my parents met in high school in the Carolina High School. So my mom is from Carolina, and her cousin, she has another cousin that was also a percussion and singing rumbero plena, like a great. Everybody has mad respect for him. And that's when everything was started like sinking on me. I had my grandpa playing salsa every day, and he had a conga. He played the conga, and he does the same thing to my little one. I have a little one. I have a 1 year old, and he comes to him and he does this thing. I'm doing it forever. I hope that my son does it for his grandchildren. Uh, he does this thing where he gets with the little babies and he starts singing the clav, and he's like, yeah, 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 and yeah, 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 and start singing. Like that's something that my
Yeah.
grandpa always did with me, and then he did it to my son. So this is already like brewing before I was even born. And then when I'm a little older, like around 6 years old, my mom's cousin used to always come to the parranda with the plena, and it was like the best musicians used to hang out with him, and they always came with him. They was all love with the food, you know, soul food, Puerto Rican soul food, Caribbean love. And then that's when I was like, man, this is what I want to do. And they let me do. They give me the pandero. I have pictures when I'm like 6 years old playing plena with my family. So that's the beginning. Like I was already. It was something that even before I was born, our creator already had that on. Like you gonna do this. This is what I need you to
Yeah.
do. So that's how percussion came into my life. And then fast forward dance also because of my dad. Then my dad always took me for my dad. I'm super blessed that my entering the industry was already like it was really easy for me because my
Mhm.
dad used to dance with like Olga Tañón and
Ah.
was in and he I was the little kid. Like you can even ask Olga and she's like, oh, that's I remember when you was a little kid running around in the rehearsals. So it was Olga Tañón, Anita Nazario, um, Victor Manuel. This is the stuff that I was seeing as a child, and I
Mhm.
was always like, my dad was with the dancers, and I was always with the band. I was always like, look at the percussion, look at the guys, look at the brass section. Oh my God, I love this, and I was just learning all this stuff. Uh, who else, man? My dad's been doing. I've been blessed that my dad, you know, Gilberto Santa Rosa. Gilberto Santa Rosa is like an uncle to me. Like I love him and his whole family. Like I
Mhm.
remember Gilberto Santa Rosa first big concert in Puerto Rico. I was there and I saw everything, the rehearsing and the show. So like that was already part of my life. And I'm hoping that my son is starting to get that too. I'm bringing him to my shows.
Right.
I'm bringing him to my rehearsals, my master classes, and he's learning all this stuff. So that's just a side note. Like if you have children or if you have kids that you want to expose, there's nothing better. If you try to put them in a class, they might get it or they might be like turned off. I don't want to do it. And
Mhm.
you don't want to push it. The best way is to expose them, take them to the shows, take them to the
Mhm.
rehearsal. Just no pressure. You don't have to do nothing. Just sit there and then the kid is gonna absorb all that stuff.
Right.
So that's what happened to me. Fast forward then when I was like 16, I was like rapping and producing. I was really into hip hop. And then I went to New York and I studied sound engineering because I wanted to, build better beats. I wanted to know how to mix my beats. And
Mhm.
that's when my career really started professionally. I started releasing some songs. I started doing shows. Uh, that from then on, it was just like, either percussion, either producing, either rapping, either singing. That's when everything really started. And also, like when I was 12 years old, I went to the Performing Arts School of Puerto Rico. It's called the Escuela Libre de Música.
Mhm.
That's when I started Ernesto Ramos Antonini. That's when I really started doing formal music and I started, picking up like reading music and music theory. That was a great time in my life. And this school is one of the most prolific schools probably in the Caribbean because if I tell you all the people that went there, you're gonna be like, what? Like for instance,
Okay.
Tego Calderon went to that school. Gilberto Santa Rosa went to that school. Man, it's just a long list of like greats that went to that school. And even when I was there, like all the kids that were surrounding me, like now they're like top producers. For instance, I have that's my boy, the Yengo Flow's producer.
Okay.
He was like a year older than me, and we used to hang out. I remember when he started. And it's like a bunch of this is a bunch of them that are around me that are now like great producers or musicians, and that was a huge blessing for me too. That was the beginning of my career, you can say. So that's basically the run up
The
of
history of
Friday.
Tostones. So
Yeah,
okay, so you told us a little bit about the history. Now tell us about how you became a Grammy nominated creator. Because like you said, you've worked with, you mentioned Gilberto Santa Rosa, but you've also worked with Tego Calderon, Wisin y Yandel, some of the more urban acts, right? So you were talking about salsa first. Now you also have dug into, the urban side, reggaeton, and all of that good stuff. How did that come about?
yeah. So let's talk about the reggaeton and urban side because the
Okay.
jazz side we'll talk about that too. So yeah, I've always, like I said, when I was 16 and I started, studying like production and like all the studio stuff, getting in the studio. I've always, man, I was born. I know the whole story of reggaeton, like completely. Like I lived it. Like when reggaeton started, I was just like a little kid, but I
Hmm.
was already into it because my cousins were older than me, and we used to tape all the videos. Mind you, back then it was illegal. Reggaeton was illegal in Puerto Rico, and it was banned because of how,
Yeah.
we still know it's still happening right now how bad
Yeah.
the and the stuff is, it's a street culture. It's music for the streets. That's how it started. So that I've always loved reggaeton. My first tape that my mom got for me, she didn't even know how bad it was. I was like 6 years old, and I was like five actually. No, I was 6 years old, and it was the first tape, and I was so into reggaeton. I was like, Ma, I want that Wiso G. A lot of people don't know who this guy is, but this is an iconic rapper from Puerto Rico that started
Hmm.
like the movement. Like he was actually the first big like mainstream reggaeton. He was hip hop too because he's a great MC.
Hmm.
So we saw G and this was crazy. Like it was like me levanto los domingos como a las 9:00 con ganas de me. Somo a la ventana veo que hay para coger un son tan. I'm talking about like this is like street stuff, and that was my
Hmm.
first. So I've always been in love with reggaeton and our culture. Even though I love like salsa and all types of music, but reggaeton is the music of my generation, even
Right.
before like it is right now. So then fast forward, like I'm into producing. I want to get. I had the opportunity actually in 2007. I had the opportunity to produce for Don Omar,
Hmm.
who is actually one of my, even though we have differences, but I'm a humble person, and even if we have differences, I'm still gonna bless you, and I cannot deny that Don Omar is one of my biggest inspirations
Hmm.
in reggaeton and urban. Like I love his music. Even when I DJ, I still play this dude like crazy. Like I play all the old stuff. I love his music. And it was a huge inspiration. But then one time, shout out to my boy Branley Mejias. That was my best friend back then. He was his drummer,
Okay.
and and then Don Omar flew him out, and he was like, "Well, I want you to be my producer." Da da da. And I was already making music with him. So he was like, "Yo, I want to produce you, but you gotta. I need my boy to be a part of this." And that was a big blessing. Shout out to Branley.
Hmm.
That's my brother. I love him. And then I remember we went to his house, and we were a trio back then. It was a rapper, and him and I, and we all sing and rap, and Branley and I were the producers. And we went to Don Omar's house, and I remember, we played him all the stuff. We performed for him. It was crazy. We were like, oh my god, we're with the guy, like the guy that we've been looking up
Yeah.
to. And he was crazy. He was like, yo, yeah, crazy man, I love ya, da da da. I remember he wanted us to be an orfanato. You remember orfanato had the danza
Okay.
cultura?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
He was like, no, I'm gonna have y'all in the orfanato. Y'all gonna be with me, da da da. But that never happened.
Right.
We had differences. But anyway, I got to produce him on this song. It was like Fania. It was a Fania album with all the rappers. Like it was Tego was in it. It was like a
Hmm.
Fania songs with the Fania singers, but like a remake with the reggaeton.
Okay.
Yeah,
Like a salsa type situation.
yeah. So
Got
I was part of the production on Don Omar's song. It was El Cantante song, the Hector Lavoe.
it. Yeah.
So then I was into all that, man, and then 2011 I got called up to be part of the Wisin y Yandel Los Vaqueros tour.
Okay.
Big tour. I was super honored because I love them too. Like that, I love their music. I was the percussionist, and we got to go to Europe. We went to Mexico. I was there for like 6 months. It was great. It was a great experience. I got to meet a lot of people. Then, mind you, Teo Calderon is like I'm an Afro Latino ambassador, and everything I do is Afro Latino, and I wouldn't be doing any of this without Teo Calderon. Teo Calderon is
Right.
like one inspiration, number one guy. Like
And he's also from Santurce, right?
Yeah, he's also from the
Right.
area too. Exactly. Yes, Santurce has a lot of big people coming out of there. It's a very special neighborhood. So I always, man, for years I wanted to play with Tego. I was like, for years trying to get that gig. I was like, yo, and I was like told, I even had his number once because we linked up. I was like, yo, I want to produce you. It was like, okay, okay. He gave me his number, and then I was on him, bro. I would like, every time I text him, like, yo, Tego, like, yo, what's going on? And he like, he didn't like, and this is a very smart thing for all of those that are trying to do reggaeton as a musician. Like
Here's some
reggaeton
tips, guys. Tips.
as a musician, everybody thinks that reggaeton is just that simple, repetitive music. But let me tell you something. Not everybody can play reggaeton.
Mm.
Not everybody knows how to play reggaeton. Reggaeton has a concept and a feeling that if you don't get the culture, you can play it, but you're not gonna sound right. And the people know that. So Tego had that thing. He was like, man, I just don't really like the drums, the live drums on reggaeton. It just doesn't sound right. Just, you know, the reggaeton has to be the dembow. It has to be like
Right.
electronic sounds. But I was such immersed in the culture, and I knew about it so much, and I knew about Tego's music, and I was like, yo, Tego, I'm the guy. Like, I'm telling you, I'm the guy that is gonna do it the way that you want it. And he
Right.
was, let me see, for years. And then one time, shout out to Queen. God bless her. She's going through health issues, but she's gonna overcome it. Amarilis Rios. Her name is Ama Rios. Check her out. She's amazing musician, composer, percussionist, incredible. And she was the director of Tego Calderon's band at the time. We went to the Conservatory of Music together because that's where I went to college. And then, man, God blessed me with the dream. She was like, yo, Tego said he ready for you. Like, I was like, what? I was like, what? Are you kidding me? I was like, yeah, yeah. He said you could come. Let's start it. Let's do it. I remember when I first got into the studio, because he has a studio space and that's where he does all these things.
Mm-hmm.
And we started rehearsing, and I was looking at his face. I was like I had the sampling pad with the dembow in it. I had the drum set, everything. And he was looking at me like, he was like, with the
Right.
with the eyes like, let me see, let me see.
Okay.
You've been talking. He was like, you've been talking for a long time. Let me see, man. And then he came to me. He was like, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
You doing it? He was like, you were right. I was like, man, I told you, bro. Like, so yeah. So that was a huge thing for me. We did the Choliseo, which is like the Staples crypto or
Puerto Rico.
and it was one of his biggest concerts too, because it was like he didn't do a big show in Puerto Rico for like years.
Mm.
And then it was like the name is La Trayectoria. It was like, you know, his history of the music,
Right.
his career. And then yeah, we did that thing. It was great. It was an amazing experience. But yeah, that's how I got to do with that's how I got to deal with the urban crew. um
Reggaeton life type situations.
on
Okay, so that was one I want to say one experience, right? So what would be something from that or any other experiences that you had that you can recommend to people that are like you at that moment, right? That are wanting to break into Latin music, want to break into, let's say, for example, reggaeton. What would be some of the tips that you would give them so they can be successful? Because there are things that we have told people, just all of us in general in the music industry, that might not work for a specific person, right? So what are tips that you can give out to Latin creators or creators in general that will help them break into the Latin music industry?
So the first tip I gotta give. I'm also an educator, and
Mm.
I love education. Period. Like just picking up a book is important for us as human, or just anything that you don't have to go to school if you don't have the opportunity, but you can definitely go to YouTube University.
Mm.
Or I'm all about just educating yourself. And if you want to get into the business, there's a lot of ins and outs that you have to know. Um, you have to know the history of what you're doing, especially like if you're gonna, like I said before, if you're gonna do reggaeton, you can't just be like, oh, I want to do reggaeton because that's what's popping and that's where the money's at. No, you have to really understand what you're working on. You got to work on your craft. You got to get your instrument ready. You have to get your knowledge of the concept ready. So that's the first thing. Like what I did with Tego, like it's because I already had the background for it. But
Right.
if I wouldn't have done that, even if I dreamed of it, I wouldn't have like pushed, hey yo, Tego, if I don't know anything about Tego's music.
Right.
Thing about reggaeton, like it's just, you know, like my that's the biggest thing we have to know. You have to know your craft. You have to just study and get immersed in whatever you're doing right now. That's the first thing I'm gonna do. The second thing I'm gonna say, the industry is one of the hardest industries. It's just a fact. It's just one of the hardest industry. Everything is against the creator.
Mm.
Everything against like just a very few companies like you guys, and very few people help the artists, and they're for the artists. So we're talking about the industry is all money hungry, and whoever's more popular, right? So you have to fly and vibrate higher than all of that. You got to fly over all of that, all the Hollywood stuff. You can never let that get to you, because you could be popping today and tomorrow they don't care about you.
Right.
That's just a reality. So how do you stay relevant? Mind you, I've been doing this for like 12 years. So how do you stay relevant? You have to be resilient.
Mm.
You also have to have the confidence, or build the confidence, to go get this job. Like you can't wait for the job to get to you. You know what I'm saying? That's why in my case, my wife and I, we have this agency and production company called Flowers Rhythm.
Right.
We actually have a show on the 28th of October. Swing by at the Goldfish. So why am I saying that? Is because that got created that way. I had just moved to LA. I was working, I was meeting people, but I couldn't wait for work to come to me. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I was like, I remember it was my birthday, and I told my wife, I was like, for my birthday, I want to give myself the present of an event to open up the doors for me to work, and also friends around me, friends and family. I have so many friends that are incredibly talented. We have some of them in there. I see Muela, shout out Muela, my brother AC Meta, who's part of Cometa. I have so many amazing friends like you, you know what I'm saying? Like we have so many amazing friends that are hungry, and we are excellent at working around the industry and doing our thing. So I was like, man, the best thing I could do is create a platform where we can perform, and that created so many different um, streams of revenue and work as a musician, as a producer. Now we did something at the Lightning in a Bottle festival. We did a little curation, and all of that came out of creating our own platform.
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking about the best way is to create your own thing. If you want to work in the business as a producer, start putting your beats out there. Put your beats out there. Get a playlist on SoundCloud, or put them on Spotify. Put them on YouTube with some visuals, whatever. Like, you got to start putting your stuff out there.
Mm-hmm.
You wait for somebody to come and holler at you. Hey, I got a bag for you. No, that bag is gonna come after you create your own thing. If you're a singer songwriter, start record all your songs and go to the labels, or go to look for artists that are up and coming, and be like, yo, I'm a nice songwriter, check it out, you might want to work with me. And you never know, that could be the next Dua Lipa, or the next
Right.
Bad Bunny. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's all about the grind of trusting. First, you put in the work. Of course, you put in the work,
Mm-hmm.
hard work. Then you go out there with the confidence that you put in the work, and then you just start putting it out there. And you're
Right.
gonna receive a lot of no's. You're gonna receive a lot of like, that shit ain't hot. I'm sorry, I'm sorry I curse. I
It's
don't know if
okay.
stuff ain't hard. Da da da. Like Ye said that. Like Ye, his beats was whack at the beginning, and look at Ye now. We're dealing with this crazy ass Ye, whatever. But but it's a fact. And my first beats and my first songs, they weren't hot at all. So, and when I started playing, like I've always played my whole life, but it wasn't until I took it seriously and I went in the performing arts school, and then I went to the Conservatory of Music, did my bachelor's in jazz and like in Afro-Caribbean music, taking it seriously. I was already a good player. I was already doing my thing. I was born with the talent, but talent can only get you so far. Like you have to put in the work, and after you put in the work, you got to go knock them doors down. And if
Mm-hmm.
they over here, they're gonna say no over here. Somebody's gonna say yes. Somebody's gonna say yes, and it's always the moment that you wanna quit, the yes is coming right after that. Always. So that's my take on that. Yeah. So like it's all about the work. Like just to say, because I know we have to go soon,
Yeah.
but because you mentioned about the Grammy nomination, how did that
Right.
happen? That happened because of me putting in the work. I was in the Conservatory of Music, right? And David Sanchez was one of our all-time jazz greats. He's a tenor sax, incredible. He's played with the biggest names in jazz. So he had an artist residency in the conservatory, and I was in one of the classes, which was like a little jazz combo. And then he was going in and out the classes and just checking it out, and arranging, and hey, you could do this better. You could, a little guidance. And then when he saw me, he said the first time we played on stage, he said this on the mic, and I wanted to cry because it was like, wow. Because he said that when he saw me for the first time in class, as soon as he heard me play, he was like, this kid's got it. Like, he always had me in the back of his mind. And then fast forward, I graduate and everything, and people already knew me as the dancer musician because I was dancing
Mm.
too. And then when he decides to do this new project, was called Carib, it's this album. Uh, he looked for, he was like, yo, I need that guy because I know he can play and he can also dance the folkloric music of bomba, because the album is about the mix of Afro Puerto Rican bomba and Afro Haitian music.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's the project that he did, and he said, "This is the guy that I need," and that's how that happened. But it's because I put in the work. It's because I was in college. You know, I was hungry for this. I wanted to get into the game. That's what opened the door. And then fast forward, we started touring, and then he had me record on the album, and then the album was nominated for Grammy and Latin Grammy for the best Latin jazz album. Yeah, and it's crazy. I'm not mad at all because the one that took the Grammy from us is the great late Chick Corea. I don't know if you know about him. He's a pianist, one of the greatest jazz players ever, and he just passed like literally last year, I
Mm-hmm.
think. And he's the one that got it. So I'm not mad at all that he
Okay.
got his Grammy. He got the Grammy from us. Uh, but yeah,
There will
that's
be other opportunities. There will be others.
definitely no, and I don't do music for awards or recognition. Having a Grammy will be amazing, but that's not the reason why I do it. I think that my purpose is to expose my Afro Latinidad, my Afro Latin culture, and also helping other people. Like I love helping people. Like I said, when we created the platform Flowers Rhythm, it was not only for me, but also to expose other artists. And I'm all about that. I'm all about exposing people that have the talent. If you got it, I wish people did that to me. So that's why I
Right.
push it forward. So if you have the talent, I see you have the talent, I'm gonna shout you out. I'm gonna call you. If you nice, let come play with my band. I always try to do whatever I can to help out. But yeah, that's how we got here. That's how we got here.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And those were amazing, amazing tips. Hopefully everyone's that is watching, they can take these tips, apply it for themselves. This is something that we also push forward at Songtrust, right? We have these educational materials, we have these talks, so we can at least set people up to be able to reach out for these opportunities, because it starts there as well, right? Being able to present that to the people that are working with us and actually paying us for the stuff that we're doing, right? So that's what we try to do here as well. I know you have a performance coming up, so I just want
Yeah,
to thank you.
right now over here out there, actually with David, actually with the one that we got nominated
Okay.
in there. Actually, let me see if we can
Yeah,
get
yeah, yeah, yeah.
a little bit.
So we can
Um,
see what the setup looks like.
I want to tell you too. I want to give you your flowers, bro, because I admire you. I remember when we met, and the things that you've been able to accomplish.
Thank you.
And in such short time is really inspiring, bro. I'm super proud of you, Marvin. Like,
I
you're doing
appreciate
your
it.
thing. So I just wanted
Thank
to
you.
say that. So
Thank you.
you
And like
so
we're on the same mission, right? We want to make sure that we also help everybody else out, and that's why we are in the places that we are. But let's see the setup.
so here we are. That's where we're gonna be today.
Awesome. And where is this again, Tostones?
This is Brownsville, Texas, at the Brownsville Performance Center.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I gotta head to the. They're waiting on me for the for the sound check.
Awesome,
But
awesome. So we can say we
much, man.
can
I'm so happy
thank
to
you
be
again.
here. It's an honor, man.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you again, Tostones.
Oh,
And if you can leave us off with your famous catchphrase.
that's right. Tostones están
Están
fritos.
fritos. Thank you so much, Tostones.